Good morning and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus, to another analysis and breakdown of the Quran of the Muslims! Yes, we are back once again, breaking this thing down verse by verse into logical, factual statements in English which I have written. And the reason we're doing this is so we can understand who is Allah, what does he intend, what is his purpose in this book, and more importantly, how does this affect you and I and the rest of the non-believer world in our lives today. So before I start, as I always do, I'm going to advise you, if you have any doubts as to the things I am about to say or have previously said, buy and read one of these, and after you've done that, you will recognise that every single word I'm about to tell you from here is 100% true of what Allah says in his book and what Muslims believe today. So, with that in mind, if you had caught the last few episodes, you'll remember that we were going through the particular punishments and limitations that Allah inflicts upon his women for the heinous sinful crime of not being born male, including having to kill themselves if they upset or fall out of favour with their men, and being bought and sold as if pieces of property, literally just pass from pillar to post between the different men. And the reason is because they are nothing but simple grow bags for babies. They have no use in the end times genocidal prophecy goal of killing the Jews and Christians. And for that reason, the only possible worth that a woman in Islam can have is to grow men which do have value in order that Allah can be appeased. If you don't believe me, read it. 100% what I'm telling you is in here. Every single episode will prove that, and this book does as well. So go and read it if you don't believe me. So, let's get started. 173. You all saw those who fled their homes from us for fear of death, who Allah did turn to and say, all of you die! He restored the Muslims to life, for Allah created this world as a bounty for his faithful only, though others are so ungrateful of him. O Muslims, you will fight in a war for the cause of Allah, and he knows the movements of people and will guide you, for Allah sees all things. End of verse. So, a blazing start to today's verse reading. Now that we've got through the bit about the women, which kind of slowed things down a little, we are back to the blood and guts, war, killing and death, genocidal end times prophecy stuff, which I think we are all here for. So let's break it down. So, Allah starts off by saying, you all saw those who fled from their homes, the thousands who fled in fear of their lives, when Allah did turn to you all and say, you will all die. So Allah is literally, thousands of people are fleeing from Allah's wrath and his army of Muslims who are going, Allahu Akbar, and waving their swords to kill people. We're not told who these thousands of people are, but presumably it's everyone who isn't on the Muslim side with Allah behind them, guiding them on. So Allah turns to all these people, die all you, and commands them all dead, and the Muslims go and kill them. And then he says he restores the Muslims to life. Now, there's two things this could mean. The first thing is he restored Muslims to life means all the dead Muslims from the battle when they chased the thousands of people off and killed them. He's going to restore all those dead Muslims back to life. That's what I think he means. But there's some discussion, if you read on the internet various different blogs and forums and stuff, that this actually doesn't mean that. What he means by he restored the Muslims to life is that he restored the nation of Islam to life. And actually, nobody got killed for this to happen. It was all merciful and peaceful. Of course it is. Allah said so in his book, so it must be true. That's the end of that. So then he rounds out the verse by saying, O Muslims, you will fight in a war for the cause of Allah, and he knows the movements of people and will guide you, for Allah sees all things. And I think this is just so obvious what he means. O Muslims, so again, he's not speaking to you or I or the rest of the non-believer kafiri, the scummy non-believers that he's going to kill in the end times prophecy. He's directly talking to his Muslims, and what he's saying is, Muslims, you will fight in a war for the cause of Allah, i.e. the end times genocidal prophecy cause of killing everyone who's not a Muslim. And how you will do this is because Allah is going to guide you, because he knows the movements of all peoples, and because he knows the movements of all peoples, even though you have an inferior force with less people, O Muslims, Allah is going to guide you strategically through your little war campaign and enable you to defeat all the peoples of the world, one after the other. So you won't actually have to have a big world war. What you will do, O Muslims, according to Allah, is you will go first to Israel, kill them, take that over. Then you'll grow your borders out a bit, kill all the other countries, take them over. Then you'll grow into the Christian countries, then you'll take them over. And eventually you'll go to China, Russia, the UK and America and Australia, and you will take those over. And at that point, Allah's bounty of the entire world will be yours, and the end times genocidal prophecy will be complete. Allahu Akbar! And you'll get your 72 virgins as depicted in the Quran of the Muslims and the words of Allah. And then the last thing he says is, Allah will guide you. Allah sees all things. So I think what he's saying there in the end is, this verse is clearly Allah saying to his Muslims, see those guys over there? Remember we killed all those other guys before who used to live there? We're going to do that again. We're going to go and kill all these guys, and it's going to be a great big war. We're going to genocide and kill everyone. The Jews and Christians are going to die. Rah, look, rah. And the reason he's saying this, and I quote, he literally says, you see those people over there? I'm going to turn to them and say, you will all die. As in, Allah is going to say to all these people, you will all die. And the reason that this is going to happen is so he can restore the Muslims to life. For Allah created this world, and I quote, as a bounty for his faithful Muslims. So once again, like in the previous verses we just went through in the last 3 episodes, Allah is literally telling his Muslims, this whole world, all the countries, everything in it, all the women, children, the gold, all the resources in the entire world, I created them as a bounty for you, O Muslims, and how you collect on that bounty is you do my end times genocidal prophecy, and you wipe out those fucking Christians, Jews, apostates, atheists, and those Satans over there. And if you don't, you're not worshipping me enough, and I will punish you, O Muslims, so you better get fucking to it, and by the way, worship me. That's what this means. I'll carry on. 174. Who will side with Allah? Who will offer life to him, which Allah will double in return? Allah provides all that you have, so provide for Allah, and upon death you will have life again in Allah. End of verse. So, a short to the point verse here, more of the same of the last one, trying to incite his Muslims into a frenzy of bloodlust and violence, so they can go over there and kill the non-believers, and Allah can have his own way. So, if we break this down, he's actually, it sounds like a question. He's saying, who will side with Allah? He's not asking the question there. He's shouting to his Muslims as a general of war, like a war cry. Who will side with Allah? And they're meant to all go, yeah, we will kill the Jews. That's what he's doing here. Who will offer life to him? Yeah, we'll kill those fucking Jews and Christians. That's what he's doing. And then after he has done the war cry, he says, who will offer life to him, which Allah will double in return? So what that means is, if you get killed really quickly in your battle, say you get struck in the head by an arrow and you die before you've managed to kill any Jews, doesn't matter. Because you have given your life as an offering to Allah in his war, he will return this to you double. So after that has happened, he's saying he will rise you up from the dead and you will live again as a second life. And then that is how this end times prophecy is going to be completed, because every single Muslim that gets killed will immediately rise from the dead again. Allah will animate them as a zombie. Presumably, it doesn't say zombie in the text, so I'm just imagining. If someone gets shot in the head with an arrow and is dead and bleeds out, when they spring back to life, when Allah's reanimating them, they're still going to have a hole there. They're still going to have like blood, one eye missing and blood coming out and stuff. So it's not going to be... This isn't like Jesus getting resurrected when he was gleaming in glorious samite and was perfect and rose to the heaven. This is literally like, zombie Muslims. That's what this means. And then he finishes up by saying, Allah provides all that you have, so provide for him, and upon death you will live again. Again, Allah is saying, everything in the world, O Muslims, belongs to you. Allah has given it to you. And because of his grace and mercy and his generosity of gifting you this bounty of the entire world and everybody in it, in order for you to deserve that, you have to kill the fucking Jews. That's what this means. And it's the most clear... I mean, like I said before, a lot of the times Allah, when he's talking, he's kind of generic and he doesn't really describe things in concrete terms. But this is one of those rare moments when you can clearly see Allah is going... Let's kill the Jews! Get them! And then everyone's supposed to run over, murder the Jews. And then he's saying, the reason you're doing this, Muslims, is because the world will be yours. I have said so, Allah in the book saying to the Muslims, everything's a bounty for you. But a bounty isn't free. You have to collect on that bounty through the job the genocidal end times prophecy. So get to it, worship Allah, kill Jews, and then you'll go to paradise. And Allah will either float down from the heavens or be resurrected, whichever one he chooses, because obviously he's predicted both. And then you will have your virgins, O Muslims. That's what this means. And then we carry on. They said, oh no, I've missed a bit. 175. Have you not seen my end times plan to deal with those chiefs of Israel, the people of Israel, after what Moses hath caused? A prophet amongst them said, appoint our king and lead us into victory of Allah's vow of war. So, what does he mean by this, I wonder? So this is more meat on the bones of the whole genocidal let's go and kill the Jews thing that he was just saying in the last verse, but he's now making it more clear to them. Have you not seen my genocidal end times prophecy, O Muslims? Haven't you been reading this? You haven't been worshipping me enough if you don't already know, because I've given you holy signs, remember, and I've written it in here. And the thing that you should know, that you should have seen by now, is the genocidal end times prophecy to deal with, and I quote, the chiefs of the people of Israel, to deal with the chiefs of the people of Israel after what Moses hath caused. Now, if you think back to, I think it was episode 8 when we were going through the Moses bit, Exodus as in the words of Allah Exodus, not real Exodus. And what Allah said is, Moses led the Israelites across the desert and escaped the Egyptians, despite that he was trying to kill them. Allah was trying to kill the Israelites but failed. Moses did some miracles and they escaped to set up Israel. And then at the end, Allah, despite the fact that he tried to kill them, turn them into Muslims and failed, Allah shouts to the back of you, remember what happened here? We're going to come and kill you in a big fucking genocidal war. We're going to kill you all. We're going to kill you. And that's what he's referring to here. Sorry, I'm trying to make this interesting for you because obviously it's written like a dog's dinner. So I am making it very imaginative for you. So that's what he's talking about here. Allah is saying a prophet will come to help you with the plan to wipe out the chiefs of Israel. And remember, this has been prophesied by Allah during the time of Moses. And the reason he's going to do it is because of what Moses hath caused by leading the Israelites out of slavery and saving them from certain death. And then, according to Allah anyway, doing this holy cow sacrifice with the pretty sexy cow at the instruction of Allah, successfully doing that sacrifice to their God, and then Allah going back to his Muslims and go, these fucking filthy Jews, look at what they're doing over there with the sexy cow sacrifice. Brother, sinful, evil Jews. We're going to kill them later. Remember this day. That's what he's referring to here. And then we move on to 176. They said, we will not refuse. We will come out of our hiding place and complete Allah's prophecy. For else they will come forth and turn us from our homes to kill us instead. Those who would flee or turn back or refuse will be punished by Allah with terrible grave tortures. End of verse, end of reading. So, let's break that last bit down. So we're carrying on with the whole kill the Jews thing, and at the end of that, Allah, as he always likes to do, he has to put a threat in at the end, because this is what he does. He lies and says, you guys, if you do this thing when you kill the Jews, I'll give you everything. The whole world will be yours. You'll be the kings of heaven and earth. You'll be amazing. Nothing will trouble you and you'll live forever. All you got to do is exactly what I tell you. Worship me, kill Jews and be poor and give your money to the mosque. Then you'll get all that stuff. Promise. Promise. That's Allah. Then he curses them and goes, those fucking evil Jews, they're the cause of our problems. They are the ones that caused everything. Remember, I created a one nation where everyone was the same. They were all Muslims, and then I gave you the Quran. You were supposed to worship it, but those fucking Jews and Christians, we're going to kill them. That's why, it's all their fault. So that's what Allah's doing here. And then the Muslims are replying to Allah in the end of the verse by saying, we will not refuse. We will come out of our hiding places, i.e. our weird little tunnels under Palestine. That's probably what they're referring to there. We will come out of our hiding place and complete Allah's genocidal end times prophecy for you, O Allah, by killing the Jews, Christians, pagans, atheists, and everyone else. For if we do not, they, everyone else, the Jews, Christians, and the pagans, and the atheists, everyone else is what the Muslims are saying to Allah. They will come forth to us and kill us and turn us out of our homes and be the end of our cultures. That is what they are saying to Allah. And then Allah says, those who would flee or turn back or refuse, Allah will punish in the grave. So his final threat at the end of the reading is, do the genocidal end times prophecy. If you don't, the Jews, Christians, atheists and pagans are actually going to come here and do all this stuff to you. Remember, that's why we hate them, because they're actually secretly planning to come and do this to us, even though Allah says he's mind controlling them into sin. So technically, if he's mind controlling them into sin, then he must be mind controlling them to plan to kill the Muslims. So this is Allah's final admission up to this point, that he's mind controlling those guys to kill you, O Muslims, at the same time as mind controlling you, O Muslims, to kill those guys. And he's planning to bring everyone together into this big holy war that genocides everybody, so that he can then go, ha! You see, God? I told you I was better than you. That's what he means here. And then he says at the end, by the way, if you refuse or turn back, or you fail to turn up for this battle, O Muslims, Allah, me in the book, I will punish you in the grave. So I will first kill you, then before you die and go to hell to burn forever, there's an indeterminate amount of time when Allah will personally be on your dead body zombie in the grave, which you are still going to be inhabiting, unable to move, suffering terribly this horrible personal grave torture from Allah himself to you in the book. That is what this means. And that brings us to the end of our reading. So I think, not like it's anything new, we know that Allah in his Quran of the Muslims, yeah, woo, Allah Akbar! This thing here is completely in what we would expect with the previous readings. It's just carrying it on and making it more violent and more immediate. So Allah is now saying, whereas in the past he said, oh, in the future we're going to kill those evil Jews, we're going to band together and we're going to cut all their heads off, but just do your marriage thing and your divorce thing and, you know, set up your mosques in your towns and everything. So that was in the past. Now, Allah is literally in front of his Muslims in the sky talking to them. And he's going, you all saw them flee from their houses. We killed them last time. We'll kill them again. Die, Jews. Kill the Jews. And he's literally saying that to his people. And then he says, if you haven't seen my end times plan, it's because you are stupid. The plan is to deal with the chiefs of Israel, who are the cause of all your problems, Muslims. That's what he's saying here. So a prophet amongst them will appoint us as the kings and lead us to victory to complete Allah's vow to kill them. Do you understand that? Allah is literally saying to his Muslims, while he's doing the war cry thing to get them all reared up and, you know, bloodlusty so they can go and kill the Jews, he's saying a prophet from Israel will come out of Israel, be the king of the Islam people. That's literally what this says. Appoint our king to lead us to victory of Allah's vow of war. He is saying that because Moses did the whole holy sexy cow thing, that was sin enough for us to want to kill Israel. And just in case you thought Israel might have any chance of actually defeating you, O Muslims, we're going to lie to you now and say their most intelligent big guy, their king, just before this end times prophecy happens, is going to defect to Islam and is actually going to lead you, Islam people, Muslims, against his own people in Israel. And they're all going to get wiped up. Rah, big genocidal war, dead. Allah wins, 72 virgins. Moses is, crying in hell in his bed of fire, burning forever, along with me, you, and the rest of the non-believers. And then he finishes up by saying, we will not refuse. This is the Muslims saying to him, okay, Allah, we accept your genocidal end times properly thing. We definitely won't refuse. We definitely will show up for the fight. We won't try and run away. Since you've promised us that if we die in battle, we'll immediately be reanimated and carry on fighting until every Jew is dead. And then at the end of it, even though that has been promised, Allah, showing, I feel, a lack of faith in his own abilities and his prophecy, ends the verse by saying, those who flee or turn back or refuse, Allah will punish in the grave forever. So, that's the end of our video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something. Later on we'll be going through even more foamy mouthed genocidal rubbish from the illiterate warlord Allah in the Quran of the Muslims. And we will understand more and more why it is that Muslims have the highest incidence of mental health issues in the world, and that is recordable fact you can check for yourself. I would speculate this is the cause of that. And Allah. So that's the end of it. Hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something, and I will see you in the next one. God bless, and I'll see you next time. So there you have it, straight from the horses. Allah points to us, the non-believers, and says, you lot will die and the Muslims are going to kill you. But it's a religion of peace. Honestly, it totally is peaceful. I swear.